So well, fine. So we'll start with a note from our sponsor. On the click on the link below. Great gizmos for special stretchy laces with locks that are unbelievable laces to have, and help support our sponsors. Anyway, so now schirus bottom Choshen Mishpat 312 and 314 Pinoi Aseichen Abayis Shinyud Base. Evicting a tenant from a house. So even if there's no time period for meaning there's no set lease period, you still, in which case you there's very few cases in which you can evict. But even if not, you don't have a lease. Okay, so there's no lease. There's no. I can get rid of you when I want, right? But you have to let him know first. You have to give him ample notice to be able to clear the property. Gemara Maseches Bava Metzia. Mevor shechachamim tiknu shemaskir einu yochel lahitzias haseich mebayis bli eidah mukdamis. So the Gemara in the tractate Bava Metzia, it explains that the sages enacted that a renter is not allowed to remove the renter from a house without giving him advance notice. Muvasham bagemara. However, the Gemara continues there that if the house of the landlord collapsed, meaning the house that, let's say he's renting one house and he lives in a house, and the house that he lives in himself collapsed, and he doesn't have where to live, then he can evict the renter immediately without prior notice. Now, again, we're talking about in the situation where he did not have a lease.
Right. This is all without a lease. And obviously talking about a case where the landlord has no other options, he doesn't have another place, another apartment, another house to move into, etc.
Right.
I guess what I'm curious about is how it works if the guy does own multiple properties, but they all have people, let's say, without leases who have already gone beyond their lease. So saying modern vernacular, we would call it like month to month. So there's no lease. And so how do you prioritize which property he's allowed to go to first? Everyone else will just say, why are you doing this to me? Go to someone else. Why are you doing this to me? Go to someone else. And I'm wondering if that's the case of if we match it to the fact that he it has to be as like close to his original living situation. Whichever property is whether it's by location or comfortability, like the landlord, to replace the landlord's original house, if that's the case, or if there's other components that would affect halachically which one he should choose to first, or if it doesn't really matter, it's up to him. He can choose whichever one he wants, and it's just sorry, you drew the short end of the stick. It's luck of the draw.
Yeah, that's it's called Mazali Goram. Your bad luck caused this, right?
Yeah. But bottom line is the point is like why should I be homeless and you're not? Right. I'm the one who actually owns this property.
Yeah, like, and that's the Gemara's wording.
That's the wording. You're no better than
What are you better than me? Well, in other words, the whole point is as a matter of menschlichkeit, I'm not allowed to just leave you homeless without giving you the ability to find a place to live. Okay, but why should I be left homeless without having a place to live? What are you better than me? So now I don't. So I can't extend you this courtesy when I don't have it myself.
Right.
Meaning the landlord says to the renter, true, I did not notify you ahead of time on this eviction. And you can't find a new place of dwelling immediately. But you're no better than me. I also don't have anywhere to live. And I didn't tell you ahead of time. I didn't give you advance notice because I didn't know myself. It's not like I knew my house was going to collapse. Had I known, I would have told you, but it collapsed. Now I'm homeless. It's furthermore brought there in the Gemara, if the son of the landlord got married, and the landlord wants to evict the renter, without advance notice, why his son's getting married, he wants to give the house to his son. So then it depends. Like we said, there's two things here. Right? Even in the case where his house was fell down, right? It's not just a matter. There's a matter of right? We said in Choshen Mishpat there's two considerations. One of them is based on what can we assume our understanding was, right? Okay, so we're assuming if I don't have a place to live myself, I wouldn't lease you a place to live in when I don't have a place to live myself. At the same time, if I had advance notice, now it's on me again because now I was negligent by fine. I have to evict you, right, or whatever the case is, whether it's eviction or firing or whatever. But I also should have given you notice. So in the case of the house falling down, fine. There's no opportunity for giving notice. In this case, with the son getting married, so then it depends. It depends on if he was able to give advance notice. He knows that his son's going to get married, right? His son didn't elope in Vegas and come back and go, hey, Tom, I'm married. I need a place to live.
Right. He knew someone was going to get married.
Right,
and he
right.
knew,
I
knew he was going to need
you
a place.
sent invitations out 2 months ago.
Also, he knew he was going to need a place because there is a situation the guy could get married and maybe they had another place to stay, but then it falls through last minute. So then, okay,
no, fine. So that's yeah, right. So that would fall. That lechora would fall. Even let's say his son got married 5 years ago.
Right.
It'd probably be the same thing.
Right.
Meaning, listen, I didn't know my son's house was going to collapse or whatever. Or, whether it's literal collapsing or figurative collapsing. Right. The deal would fall through. So if he knew visrashel and he was negligent, and he didn't tell him, even though he himself knew, now you can't evict him. At least not with. We're going to talk about soon of what the standard amounts of time that are given for an eviction, and that's even if your son does not getting married and etc. Right? That there's a certain amount of advance notice that's required. So now the guy's son was getting married, and he didn't let him know.
Right.
You have to give him proper notice.
I don't.
The question is does it go back to the default? Or does it go based on okay, I should have told you, I had a month that I should have told you, now you get another month, because that's all you would have gotten.
Right,
anyway.
I can still evict you, it just means you have time to do so, right?
Right, but I'm saying, but even let's say in a case like,
is it that you can't evict him at all, or
in a city, because we'll see there's cases later. Well, in residential apartments, it goes up to a year.
Right.
Or up to a year, I think.
It's usually the lease or Pesach or whatever.
Right. Well, that's even in not a big city.
Right.
In not a big city, it's 30 days, but not during the rainy season, because that's harder to find places and whatever, because people aren't moving. Then, in the city, in the big cities, it's 12 months.
Gotcha. I have a question.
But here's the thing. So let's say the guy's son got married. He knew 2 months ago, and only now he's telling you about it. Does it go to the 12 months? Because why should he go to the 12 months? He only meaning even had I told you as soon as I knew you would have only gotten 2 months.
Right. So why should you get the
Unless
whole
it's in a
12
small town and it crosses over into the rainy season, maybe. It's a different story.
Right.
We'll have to look at that. Maybe it'll clarify how exactly.
I had another question. I don't remember if we discussed this in the shiur or not, but this is all talking about for the person who's going to move in long term. What if it's only short term? What if the guy says, my house, something suddenly just happened? Like, let's say we found bed bugs in my house, or, so I need a place to live for a month. Can I kick out a tenant for a month? And even tell him, you can come back after a month if you want. I just need a place for a month, and it's not my problem. Why should I have to pay for the hotel when I own a place? Like,
Right.
and you're not on the contract anymore, and you're not,
Right.
See, I mean, like seemingly based on.
But it also, I think it also goes back. It's not merely about fairness. It's about what can we assume our agreement was, right? That in the case of meaning if I made a lease, then that's our agreement.
Right.
But if I'm just letting you stay there from month to month, there's no question that if I had Ruach HaKodesh and I knew that my house is going in 6 months, I wouldn't have rented it to you for that period.
Right. Obviously.
So therefore, like, okay, well, his house collapsed. There's no, we assume there's no way he would have.
Well, then again, let's say, the house collapsed, a bomb, it's in Eretz Yisrael, a missile falls into the guy's kitchen. It's not full time. He's able to get the construction guys out there to fix it, but it's a temporary thing. I'm guessing.
Because look, even during the rainy season, right? Where it says, oh, you can't get them out during the rainy season. But here's the interesting thing: by a lease, if the lease ends in the rainy season, you're out.
Right.
During the rainy season. Why? Because we already established you knew going in that you're going to be out. So now you can't say, oh, but it's the rainy season. Where am I going to find a place? What do you mean? But you knew when we made this deal, you knew you're going to be out in the rainy season. You knew our deal ended then.
Right.
So it's sort of the question is like, okay, but now here we don't have a lease. So what, what based on what mindset can we say that they were going into this? And obviously a guy wouldn't, what I'm saying? It's not, this isn't just about courtesy. It's about, well, to some degree it is in terms of not being able to kick the guy out during the rainy season.
Courtesy, or is it fair?
But
Courtesy
ultimately it comes down to Mistam. This was the mutual agreement because everybody knows that it's hard to go out in the rainy season. When there's a lease, okay, because the lease is overriding that because we specified. Here, where we didn't specify, we have to make assumptions. And the assumption goes both ways, by the way. Because it's not about me not being able to kick you out during the rainy season. Because this isn't the Choshen Mishpat is not New York. With renters' rights that go only the way of the renter.
Right.
It goes both ways in Choshen Mishpat. The tenant also can't just leave in the middle of the rainy season. Because now how's the landlord gonna? So it's all about what Mistama was our agreement here, and also fairness. Yeah, it has to be fair. That has to be even handed. Again, besides for later on when we have the case of the employee, but that's because there's a pasuk on it. But otherwise, even that case also, it's all about whatever assumption we're making for me, we're making for you.
Right.
So, I think with the house falling down, it's not just about who's better or not. That's the way of putting it. But ultimately, it's meaning, are you better than me? Meaning, had I known this, of course, I wouldn't have made such a deal. I wouldn't have made a deal to what's it called to keep in a place where with my son getting married. When there's a lease, okay, but because the lease overrides that, because the lease is now what we agreed to. Here we have to go back and retroactively make assumptions on what was agreed to or not. But yeah, but there's definitely an element of fairness here. But at the same time, if it was an element of fairness, so why can't we say the other way around? The other guy could say back to him, well, what do you want me to do? Right? And say, yeah, but I own the house. Fine. So why don't we tell him Mazali Garam that your bad luck caused
Right.
it? Look,
Why is
your
it
house
my
fell
fault?
down, not the one I'm living in. So obviously your bad luck caused. Right, but we don't say that.
Right.
So that's why I think it ultimately goes back to the same critical key of what can we based on what we know now, what can we assume? Can we say that he would have agreed to this, or can we say that he would have never agreed to such a thing? Meaning almost like we're counting it as if he specified in the beginning. You can stay here how much you want, but if my house collapses, you have to get out. Okay, he didn't specify that because he didn't know his house would collapse. But it's almost like we're counting it as if he specified that. Why? Because we assume that had somebody known something like that, he would have specified it. Now, in the case of a lease, that makes no difference because it doesn't make a difference what you would have specified. In the case of where there's a contract, it makes a difference. And whether verbal or written, the difference being the ability to enforce it or prove it. There isn't that we don't make any assumptions on what your agreement would have been because here's what your agreement was. I don't care what your agreement would have been. I only care now what your agreement was because you made an agreement.
Right. Right.
Which again goes back to what you said before is that the real lesson is make a contract and make sure it's comprehensive because otherwise we're going to make assumptions.
Get the earthquake insurance, like yeah, you got to research a place. You buy a house in Florida, get the hurricane insurance,
Yeah. So if he didn't have this possibility, let's say like we said, the kid Take went to Vegas and he eloped, he comes back, I'm married. Right?
Right.
So then Yochel he can evict the guy immediately. Why? It's the same reason. Tells him, you're not better than me. I need the house for my son to live in. Where's my son going to live? Now, a lot of this particular case, as written in the Gemara, is going to be less common today. I wouldn't say it's completely not existent. I'm sure there's things especially amongst friends, or maybe at this point they become former friends, that yeah, you can, what's it called? Nah, I don't know lease. It's fine, live there. Yeah, you pay me this much a month. It's fine. I trust you. I trust you until my son gets married. Then all bets are off.
Yeah, but you do have problems like this a lot in credit hates where people will be like, oh, we're both Lubavitchers. All right. Yeah, don't worry about a lease. You'll live in my basement apartment, no problem. And then suddenly it's like, unless you come over Pesach, you got to move out. What? That's in a week. What are you talking about? Like,
right.
And it's what was the implication?
I've had things that were based on, okay, but it's very different also because
but there's certain implications.
Because the Haskama in the first place is for a week.
Right.
In this case, it's more like
Haskama was for a week, and you stayed longer. When you stayed longer than the initial agreed on time, you're kind of saying that that at any moment I might have to leave because I'm beyond. Like if you overstay the time, it reminds me of a quick joke. I just want to say, the old joke. This guy comes to stay by family. Yeah, let's say he's supposed to stay there for a week, but of course it drags on to be like 6 months, and it gets a little too long. And so eventually he gets the point that he leaves. 10 minutes after he leaves, he suddenly comes back. There's a ring on the doorbell. They open the door, and it's him. He's back. He says, "What are you doing? I thought you just left." He says, "Yeah, but I assume that Mistama, because I was here for so long, that when I left, you guys are throwing a party to celebrate my leaving." And what is this? That you're gonna throw a party and not invite me? Come back for the party.
Yeah, I actually know this kind of such a situation. It wasn't a court case. It was just a situation where, because I know somebody was looking for an apartment on the fast, or whatever, basement or something.
Right.
He came originally for a month, and he got a room in the basement. Whatever, I don't know exactly what it was. And then he decided he was going to stay longer there.
Right.
Okay, I mean, there's a difference. It's not this situation because of one point, which is a critical point. Is the guy told him, "Listen, just stay. It's going to be this much a month. You want to stay?" He said, "But I'm just letting you know that at some point, I don't remember if it was construction or my mother-in-law might or something or whatever it was." Okay, the difference there is he specified.
He said,
the second he specified, the whole thing is different, right? He specified that, hey, listen, I'm just letting you know, you can, what's it called? But at any point, he said, I mean, listen, in this case, I think he gave him a month's
heads up anyway.
But basically he said, like, listen, I'm just letting you know that at any point I can, but in the meantime, I don't need, I don't what's it. But the second that changes, so as long as you're okay with that, okay, fine. So it's different. There was a specification, even though there was no lease, it was all verbal.
Right.
But verbal is an agreement.
What I've heard happen in Crown Heights, I remember a specific situation where basically, it was something like what I said before, where they came, they rented the place, there was no lease, but it was like, yeah, we're here for the year, single guy or something like that. Or no, maybe it was a couple, married couple, here for Kollel. And the guy came, Pesach, said, "Okay, yeah, you got to go." And he said, "What are you talking about? We live here." He says, "Yeah, but I assumed you guys would find shlichus and be out of here after like 2 or 3 months. I didn't think you were actually going to stay the year. And this is my basement, and my in-laws, they come every Pesach." It's like, yeah, but you didn't say that. So it's like, what I want to bring out is that there are these things that sometimes you have these implications, but regardless, because he had an opportunity to say it. He should have said that when they were talking about it. Because he didn't, it doesn't matter that a lot of times couples don't stay the year, and people usually find shlichus in X amount of time. That's what you thought. That's what you implied. You didn't say that. You didn't say that. They said they want to come for a year, Kollel, and while they look for shlichus, meaning hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Worst, they might be there for a year. Like, you can't then go and,
Right, but all right. Right, and ultimately comes back to this thing is we wouldn't have agreed to such a deal.
Yeah.
Now the problem is in these cases where nobody specified. So now we have to make, and yeah, of course, each person, because that's our nature. We're going to see it how we see it, but no, we have to make as a baseline. Assumptions have to be made now as to what you actually were thinking before, whether you think you were thinking that or not. And basically, it goes by the norms of what somebody would agree on in such a case.
Right.
And we'll see later that in all these matters, if there's a way that things are done locally that's different, it follows that. Whether it's tenancy, whether it's employment, all these things. If there's set ways, whether Medina de Malchusa, right? Whether here there are employment laws, and generally those are the norms that people follow. I don't know, maybe not if you get like deep enough into Muncie, but but in general, that's what you follow, like those norms. Or alternatively, if maybe back then, that's probably the most common nowadays. Maybe back then it was, went by in different cities, they did things certain, this is how they did business and certain things, whatever. That's what we follow, because we can assume that was the understanding.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, contrast that with if there's chas v'shalom situation that where they But what if it's Sedaim? Minamakim is illegal. This is horrible. I think
Right, that's a
the
big problem.
implication is we're not talking about that. What?
It's a big problem, Bichlal.
Yeah. No, you have a lot of people, sadly, to a place, like Crown Heights, where you might hear that argument sometimes. Like, that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. That's not right. It's against the law. Yeah, but this is what everyone does.
Well,
I don't think this is what we're referring to.
this goes to the case that of the organization and the guy with the grant who wanted more money out of the. So the whole discussion was what was their relationship. But that's why my question was, wait, time out. Is this even legal what they're doing?
Right.
Is this a government grant where they're not even allowed to be paying a kickback to somebody for this, or like?
Yeah.
So then how could that be the agreement?
Meaning, so it doesn't matter what you agreed to if it's illegal. Like same thing with contracts. You could sign a contract with certain things, certain contracts.
Right, if it's illegal, then how can we say
in certain contracts you can waive your rights that are legally supplied to you, but there are other types of contracts where I don't care. You're not able to waive your right, even if you want to. It's just illegal, and yeah, there's no way. You're not doing it. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, you can waive your right, but you're not the only stakeholder. Is the point?
Right. The point is the government's also involved.
Right. It's also like there's there's a guy being robbed, right? And then there's me and there's you. And then you're what's it called? You're gonna waive your rights for me to rob him. Like, wait a second, you can't wait.
Right.
Like he's got rights still.
Yeah, no, like you were saying, there are certain criminal activities where you can what's it called? Where you can drop the charges. But it's like, right. Great, you can drop the charges, but the state or the city is still, they're not dropping the charges. It's still a felony. Like, fine, you drop the charges. Like, no, it's okay. It's my son. He burnt down my house, but I want to drop the charges. Shliach, he still destroyed property. The state's still going to prosecute. Like,
right, or yeah.
I know of a situation like that where the guy, he had a mental break and he set fire to the house. He did it at a time when he knew the family wasn't there. Took out, there was Sefer Torah, it was a Chabad house. He took the Torahs out.
By the way, it's you see when a Jew has a mental break, you're like,
why? Even still, he still takes the Torah.
We got to take out the Sefer Torah. We have to
make sure everyone's safe. No, but it's that kind of thing. Now, I don't know. As far as I know, I think they went.
It's like I'm crazy, but what do you think I am? You know,
the state, the city's like, I'm sorry, he did a criminal activity, and he's gonna have to.
Not just that. It's also you have to remember, in such cases, the insurance company also has what do you call it? He did damage to the insurance company.
Right.
Like,
right.
Are you also waiving the insurance company from paying?
Right. You're gonna waive your
claim?
No,
that you're not waiving. Right. Well. This guy's costing your insurance. It's a criminal act.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Right. So that's right. Exactly. So that's that's the basic difference of why we said that the rules of ribis of interest were in Yeridea, were in what, because it's not about the agreement.
You can't waive it.
Right. You see, it's not for you to waive. This is between you and God interest.
Before you were saying Eved to Eved, it reminds me, like, you can't, it's illegal to have slaves now in America. Like, you can't sign a contract that says, I'm going to be this guy's slave. I'm sorry, you can't do it. Right. You can't sell yourself into slavery. Like, it's illegal. You're going to have to do it the legal way, which is employment or prison. That's the legal way of slavery nowadays.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Or college football.
Right. Or you have to be a shliach. That's the only two. But then you're not a slave to slaves. Then you're a slave to him.
Mendel, it's only slavery. What's it called? It's what's it called? It's only child labor if they're getting paid. So it's only slavery if
but it's slave. It's funny. I was thinking about that, right? Like a shliach, that's it. You can't. There's no shliach. So I was like, wait, hang on a second. It's so how can you be an eved? Because the whole point of it is you can't be a slave to slaves, because avodim loy, you're a slave to him. A shliach is a slave to him, so you can sell yourself.
That's fine.
Such slavery you can go into.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Anyway,
the Maisa though, there are people that do leave shlichus or go into regular personal, but it's not. They're not beholden to.
Yeah, they're, what's it called? It's when the slaveholder catches them.
No, but it can go the other way. I know someone who he would love to continue his shlichus. The shliach is the one for 10 years.
So he's still a shlichus.
That's what I'm telling him. I'm like, so your shlichus is changing. So it's not with this guy anymore. No matter what you do, that's your shlichus.
No, but I'm saying also, if you would get an opportunity that made sense,
right, yeah,
I'm sure he would take it in a second.
Well, I said because he was burned with the shliach, he's afraid now to go into other areas of shlichus.
Fine, different story.
Considering maybe I'll just work. Like I have enough. I don't want to deal with this again. I don't want to be hurt again, etc.
Right.
So I understand. I'm just saying the fact that there is an out. It's not really like slavery.
You're talking about something. There's still no out. By the way, still no out. You're just leaving shlichus under the framework of Merkos. It doesn't mean there's no shlichus.
I guess what I'm saying is to that nakuda. I think what I'm saying is that the nafkamina, it goes from being a Choshen Mishpat slavery to maybe a Yodah slavery. Or not a Chaim slavery. Like, yes, my life, I'm in heaven to the Abish there, everything I do, but Choshen Mishpat wise financially, meaning also, in regards to one's child's chinuch, the Rebbe takes responsibility for the children's chinuch if you have to be on shlichus in the middle of nowhere. But if you, God forbid, leave that shlichus, even though I'm a shliach and everything I do, but right now you're working, doing credit card processing.
Right.
You're not. I don't think you have that same. Well, that I was going to take care of my college. No, you have a responsibility now to go move to an area.
Fine. So that's part of the equation that you have to figure.
So that's what I'm saying is that that the Rebbe is taking financial responsibility and chinuch responsibility, Choshen Mishpat wise, even if you are giving a gebben and out there doing a shlichus that he needs to.
No, but not just that. It's and it's a fair thing, but not just that. There's also like under Merkos, right? As a shliach under Merkos, there are certain. Here, let's use a very basic one. Is you have access to like Shluchim's market to get what graggers and Hamantash and things at a certain rate or whatever.
Or with regards to chinuch, the Shluchim school.
Yeah, the Shluchim schools. Okay, fine. But if I'm saying my shlichus is changing, okay, fine. So then, but you have to be here or there.
Right.
In other words, you can't get the benefits without being under the framework. It's not a fair demand. But even so, I'm saying in terms of the overarching idea of avodim loy, where everybody's still avodim loy. It's
every year is avodim loy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, all right.
Fine.
Almost 12 o'clock.
So we have plenty of time. 3 minutes. No, actually, I have till 12:30 technically, but
either way, we should.
When are you?
I mean, I have to. I got to go pick up my son at by 1:50, so 1:40 or whatever. Okay, but I have some other errands and I have some other work and other things I got to do. But
fine. Okay, so let's go a little bit and then we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, so. So now, on the other hand, everything we've been talking about thus far is when there's no lease. When there's a lease, everything changes. It doesn't go by what we would have, should have, could have. It goes by what we agreed upon. Harosh Kosav. Shekol asug b'gemori rat b'negei l'mikish aschirus hoysa bistam b'li shesikmu b'neim al zman mesuyim shebay d'stayim aschirus. The Rosh explains on the Gemara. What's the Gemara talking about? It's talking about specifically only when the rental was unspecified, that they did not agree between them on a specific time that the rental period ends. That even in such a situation, even when there's no lease, he has to tell him ahead of time. But if they did have an agreement, then Kolzman is basically considered sold to him. It's sold temporarily to him, but it's considered sold to him. And in fact, there are certain, even in modern law,
Yeah.
there's
What do you mean?
there's when there's a lease, there's certain implications of it's basically meaning it's under his ownership, so to speak, for that period.
Right. In the sense, yeah, like I mentioned this before. This is my house. Yeah, I'm leasing it, I'm renting, but meaning the owner can't just show up and do whatever he wants. Well, no, it's my house. I own it. I'm renting from you.
Right.
That
I know.
means I have a balabatish here.
Right.
It's my house,
Right.
which also
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
certain
And the truth is, even when there isn't a lease, there's still some, in a
the
sense.
residency itself. You're saying even if it's not for any
Yeah.
specific time.
But the critical difference being, listen, I'm sorry, but my lease is for a year. You leased it for a year, or for whatever the lease is. Then that's the lease.
Right.
It's not at least now, your son's getting married, you're this, you're that. I'm sorry. you basically sold it to me for a year.
Well, I did want to mention I saw this happen. It's a group of single girls who were living in a basement, and the owner, the upstairs guy, would come down with like just in his undershirt and tzitzis, sometimes in less, and then he'd help himself to the fridge, which the fridge was supposed to be their fridge, their food, their stuff.
Right.
And again, these girls are lounging on the couch, assuming this is an all girls apartment, not necessarily dressed seriously,
Right.
because they want to be a little comfortable. Maybe they take off their socks,
their pajamas, whatever. Yeah.
maybe a short sleeve shirt, yeah, pajamas, whatever, like in the living room. And then comes this guy, and literally this girl, she's like, I had to jump behind the couch and hide as this guy come, like, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not dressed this. I'm in my living room. And he said, oh, this is my house. I'm allowed to go wherever I want. I was like, what? Besides being unsafe and being so rude and like,
Right.
how like what a major red flag. It's illegal. You can't
Right,
do that.
right. Legally, you're renting something. You're right. You have to, if you need something, you have to ask permission. Like, hey, listen, I have to get to the
knock. I'm sorry. I got to get to the plumbing. We're trying to fix the plumbing, and so I have to go into your unit.
You're right.
I have
The hot water the hot water
Yeah,
boiler's down there, whatever it is. Yeah.
I gotta get in there. It's even an emergency.
Right, but there's certain rights still. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when there's a set time, it's as if you sold it to him for that time.
So we're saying when it's unset time, when it's just okay, you could be here for whatever. I don't know how long. You could just live here.
So now technically I can let you go anytime. Only what I do have to notify you to give you enough time to find something, unless there's a very good reason that I'm not able to.
Right? That's what I'm asking for. What's the nafkamina of this balabatish? So we're saying I still have to do notification, but I still have the balabatish over. This is my place, so I can use it when I need to, / as I see fit. Versus if there is a lease, it doesn't matter. I can have all the needs in the world. Meaning, even if I became homeless, sorry,
too bad.
That's this guy's house.
Bad. You sold right. It's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of I sold my house and I moved to a new house. Now I come back to the guy that I sold my house and say, listen, the house that I bought was bad pipes and it flooded. I need to move back in. Buddy, you sold it to me.
You stole me. Sorry,
so a rental, after the rental period, it reverts. But during this period, it's rock solid. It's not. It's not.
So
I need to move out.
Examples we gave before of, let's say, God forbid something happens, bed bugs in my house, etc. I can't come to the guy and say, well, I own this place, so why should I go why should I go stay in a hotel when I own property?
Right. It's the same like you sold. It's the same like you sold it.
Don't care. Yeah, you do. You're gonna have to go stay in a hotel or an RV or whatever, or even be homeless.
Right. If you wanted to preclude the possibility of that situation, you shouldn't have leased it to me. I'm sorry.
Meaning, if you're gonna have to live on the street, even if God forbid you have to live on the street, you can't push me out on the street.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. That's on your muzzle. I'm renting.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think in this we're stronger than most government law. I think most government law is that the landlord could break the person's lease even early. I think I could be wrong.
Really?
I think they can for personal use if they need to.
But that's probably specified in the contract.
Yeah, it could be, but
but that's different. That's different. By the way, all these things,
I could be wrong.
All these things could, in this case, also even by a lease, if it's specified on a contract, is different.
Right.
A specification, a contract overrides all this.
Right. Okay. So looking it
So
up.
then,
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
So even if he doesn't have a place to live, he cannot evict him.
It would seem I was wrong. That no, they can't do it unless there's a clause in the lease that says so.
Right. So here also, if there's a clause in the lease, that's different.
There needs to be a break clause or eviction for cause. You know, that either I broke the rules or there's a specific thing written in the lease that says, you know, we sold the property or we have to move in, etc. Yeah, no, you're right. Okay. Yeah, I guess
Otherwise, it's like you temporarily sold it to him.
what I was thinking of was cases where it was already a month to month, so it's already outside of the lease. So then,
Fine, right. So here in a month to month, it's a difference. It's even then you would have to
give notice.
we'll see what he. I think it discusses month to month. It discusses month to month, or like meaning what if by default you renew? Does it renewing for a year? Is it month to month? It's what's the deal?
Well, yeah, later we know there was no rental term was fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess let's finish up quick the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah.
So now let's get down to that was the Gemara and the Rosh. Now we go down to Shulchan Aruch. Hamaskir, Chaveri, Bais, based on this Gemara and this Rosh. Hamaskir, Chaveri, Bais, Chatzer, Merch, Chanus, Azman, Katzov. Somebody who rents to his friend a residential dwelling or a courtyard or a storefront or a bathhouse for a specified time. So it's not only residential. The same applies to commercial. He cannot renege and evict within the agreed upon period. Even if his own house collapses and he has nowhere to live. And even if he became poor, and he has to sell it to another person, he cannot evict him. Meaning the new person can't evict him. The sale is valid. You can sell the property, but the new guy can't say, "Hey, I didn't make a deal with you." Meaning you're selling the property with this lease, and the new guy, and the buyer has to leave him, has to leave it in the tenant's hands until the lease is up. You can't. Oh, well, I sold it. Now, again, by the way, that's different nowadays because oftentimes there is a clause in the contract that if he sells it, the lease is up.
Right. Sometimes it is. That's one of the break clauses.
But that's because it was specified there.
Right.
It's not because, meaning halacha anyway. I don't know about. Don't ask me about American law, but in terms of halacha. If you specified, you specified. But if you didn't specify, this is, or if it's not accepted locally or whatever, etc., then this is the way it is. And if he prepaid him, even for an extended time, if he paid him, right? We can assume this means that they did not set a time, because if he set a time and he paid him for the whole thing already, because there's a lease, there's a set time. It's anyways he can't get him out. So who cares even if he didn't pay in advance? So he's going now to what if he didn't? They don't have a specified time, but he paid him for a specified time, even if it's for a long time. Then basically whatever amount he paid him for, it's considered as if the landlord agreed to rent it to him for that time period. And not everybody holds this necessarily. I think we'll see later that there are those who argue. Yeah, so then you can't get him out of time. Now, feel the Mikdash Shalei Kotz was mamish mefurish, even if you did not specify the time. That the payment for a certain time period, it's as if they set. In fact, there's one could argue that it's even better, because the fact that we agreed for a certain time period by me paying you for this time period, it's right. Meaning the whole thing is that it's like a mecher, it's like a sale. So here I paid for this for the sale of it for that period. So in a way you could think it's even better. I think in the end it's not, when you look at the different place and stuff, they don't consider it better. But anyways, the Shulchan Aruch holds that paying in advance is at least as good. B'shas Su's Mishnah halach is nishal edis Reuven shehizkir b'as Shimon l'shal ishanu v'emtzat kufas aschirus mochar Reuven is a b'ais halevi b'shtar mech iska. So in Mishnah halachos, it's brought that he was asked about Reuven leased his house to Shimon for 3 years, and in the middle of the 3 years, Reuven went and sold it to Levi with the complete proper transfer of deed, etc. Now he says he had in mind that it would be only that he was selling it now, but he was selling it only for when Shimon goes out, and that's when he's selling it for. Meaning what? But he wants the rental money until that lease is done. But Levi says, wait a second, bought the house from now and further. So the Chulakabas says, meaning the lease is connected to the property, just like I can't evict him. I get the money. I bought it for now. That means whatever money comes in with it is coming in from this asset. It's my asset. The Mishnah Halachis, he answered that it's simple, that is so long as Reuven did not specify clearly that the sale is only takes what do you call it? Takes effect at the end of Shimon's lease. We don't believe him to say that this was his intent when he sold it. Or rather, the sale it goes into effect immediately. Because who's the fool? I pity the fool. Who's the fool who would give money now for taking the house later? Now, by the way, it could actually be. Therefore, we say it's probably now. There could actually be such cases. For example, let's say in a place where it's very hard to find the property. And in fact, I know of cases where the person really wanted to buy this property, and he did the whole deal and then leased it back to the owner.
Interesting.
For the owner, it was worth it because they know they're trying to make this move happen.
Well,
they also need the money from the sale to buy the house there and make the move happen.
Right.
But they can't move right. But it's going to take them like some time to move and to get all this stuff and what. At the same time, they want to make, now their house is sold, and now we're renting. And now we sold our house and we're renting a place. But we're just renting the house that we've lived in for the last bunch of years. And now we also it means that we can move our stuff out and pack it normally without what's it called. But our house is sold, so we know we can make the move, because otherwise they didn't even know they could make the move.
Right.
But in the meantime, and for the other guy, it was worth it because of the housing market at the time, and because he liked that house, and Dafka wanted that location and whatever. And in the meantime, he was renting anyways.
Right.
So he just continued renting. But he knew that what's it called? That that's it. He has.
Where a school they were about to go bankrupt, and so they needed money, and so Abalabas offered to buy the building and then let them rent like for a much cheaper rent than the mortgage and the other costs that they would have had, with the option to then buy it back after a couple of years. And then Lamaisa, after a couple of years, they couldn't buy it back, so they had to move out.
Meaning basically he was willing to help the school, but he needed something to
Well, I
he
think
needed
because also
but in other words, he had the money to help them with, but he couldn't just afford to be smoked on the money
for
altogether.
whatever reason, whether he may have could have, it could be he was so wealthy he could afford it, no problem. Bottom line is maybe he had other ideas. Maybe he wanted that building for something else. Because
Anyways, or
Lamaisa,
he had what to do with it, yeah. But I'm saying, but it's
regardless,
security on his money
after this high school
and
moved
his
out,
upbringing.
yeah, that he ended up leasing it to a different school. So maybe he had that all in mind in the first place. He wanted a building for this other school, but he said, "Listen, I'll give you a chance. I'll sell them. I'll buy the building, and I'll give you a chance to buy it back if you can afford it. And if not, then I'll do what I wanted to do with it. Like I know another situation on the East Coast, a big shoal who they couldn't afford to keep their building up. It's a neighborhood that pretty much died out, both literally and technically. A lot of people moved away, and it's much older people, and so they sold the shoal building to a from Swedish developer. The developer's like, yeah, I plan on tearing the whole thing down and building up a bunch of big condos,
Right.
or maybe a big retirement home or something. But he said, I'll wait. I'm not in a rush. I can afford to wait. If that way you guys could find another place. This was, I don't even think, a situation where he was willing to sell it back. I think he was like, no, for sure, I want
Right,
to do my.
but he's willing to give them time,
But
basically.
I'm gonna buy you time. So they were basically living like almost rent free. I think they were totally rent free. I think they would just had to pay utilities or something for a bunch of years. I think they're still in the building. I think the
Right, it
guy
could
still
be
pushing
right.
them
Right,
out.
you know what? It could be. He just wants the property. He's not.
He
He's
wants
not
the
even.
property.
He's
It's an
not locked.
investment.
Dafka is he? Is it? Does he need to do anything with it right now?
It's in the New
Here,
York
I
area.
have the property. You take your time, whatever. It's not costing me anything, but I have the property
Right.
already. In
And
the
he
meantime, the
knows
property goes up in
at any
value.
point, he also knows it's New York City where this
Right.
is on the East Coast. At any point, he could build those condos and he'll make money off it. So
Right.
he's
And in the
not,
meantime, it's not costing him. The property's appreciating.
yeah,
He could probably go and just flip it immediately if he wanted to, for a nice profit at whatever point.
right. At this
Yeah.
point, he's already owned it for how
Right.
many
So
years? He could probably flip it. Yeah. But yeah.
yeah. Makes sense. Anyway, but that in all those cases, again, we're talking about there's agreements in place.
Right,
Where
right,
here,
right.
if there was no agreement in place, and we assume that a person's not gonna buy it now for later. He's buying it for now. Since the sale is now how to yachid. So this comes back to the point of how to be yachadim abayis machan l'migam misacheza atzchir im shimin. So the meaning this temporary sale of a house known as a rental is part and parcel of the house. It comes just like Levi can't go and kick Shimon out because he's buying the lease with the house. The same thing, Reuben can't say, "Oh no, I meant that the money would be mine," because when Shimon bought it, he bought this agreement with the house together. They're inseparable. That now Levi enters into Reuven's place for all matters, right? Meaning both in terms of the benefits of the land as well as the obligations towards the tenant. The Levi tzarich l'kabel me'aschirus, and now Levi has to receive the rental money, being that he bought it. The yachtim zois Levi ein yochleitz yashim bais, and additionally, being that he doesn't only get the benefits, he gets the obligations of the house. He can't get Shimon out from the house until the lease is done. Shimon and Reuven mechayiv is Levi, that the whatever agreement Shimon made with Reuven also obligates Levi, shenichas from who's entering into Reuven's place for all matters. The keicha Levi ain't god mekeicha Reuven, and the Levi's rights are no greater than the rights of Reuven. He has the same benefits, the same rights. Okay, I guess this is a good place. I guess that's a good place. We'll continue because it's switching over to a. Well, he goes back later also, but
Yeah, right.
But anyways, he's going to now start talking about renovations. But he does go back then into time leases.